I'm Michael. I'm a sommelier, tarot card reader, and former ballerina.
Hi, I'm Suzanne. I'm a writer, an author, and a teacher.
And this is All the Woo, Z for
Zeitgeist.
Woo!
So, as you know, we have talked and teased about what our different Z option could be. And I can't believe I forgot this, but I used to have a hamster named Sir Zeitgeist, only I mispronounced it as Sir Zeitgeist. It is a German word that means the spirit of the age, which seemed like a perfect final episode of season one, as we are going to go through all of the topics and kind of update you, because there's a lot of letters in the alphabet, and we have been doing this for a while.
We have, and perhaps there have been some updates or changes that have occurred for us in that amount of time. So we're
just going to bring you up to date.
Yay!
With the Zeitgeist.
Before we move on, as always, All the Woo is just a safe space, a non-judgmental zone where we're just sharing our own personal experiences and understandings of all these topics. And so we hope that at the very least you're entertained.
What are we drinking tonight, Michael?
Something very delicious. So this came about
very delicious
because as I swallow from all this saliva, okay. So I'll tell you what it is first, and I'll tell you why we're drinking it. So this is Gusbourne Brut Reserve. This is a 2019. These are British bubbles. It is coming from England, which you might say, what? Which is exactly why we're drinking it. Mostly it came up in conversation the other day where I was talking about British bubbles, and Suzanne was like, why have you not... Wait, this is a thing? And I was like, oh yeah, I've not mentioned it before.
She had not mentioned it before.
No. So I was like, okay, I feel like I need to share, because not only are they delicious, not just because they're bubbles, they're very, very well done. The minerality and the body, and they are, as Suzanne coined it a little bit earlier, very luxurious.
Yes.
In their mouthfeel.
Yes.
And not only just, they're just good. They're just good.
They just feel rich.
And they are. But the reason why they end up kind of working out is that there's a quick little, pedantic moment here. There's
educational, Michael, educational.
Okay, educational is that there is this vein of limestone from France that Burgundy is known for and Champagne is known for, and it goes throughout and gives all of those wines such depth and richness. And so that same vein runs all the way and gets into the tip of England, which is where a lot of these grapes are being grown. So it's been something that has been relatively recent. We'll say that in comparison to Champagne or anybody else who does bubbles.
Geography is delicious.
Yes, it is. And so that's what we are drinking today, because this was
celebrating.
This was a hole that I needed to fill in Suzanne's experience, number one.
I feel much more educated now.
Yes.
I like this form of teaching.
Me too. But also just bubbles, because they're celebratory and all of the things. And so we're celebrating our last episode.
Yeah.
So cheers, Suzanne.
Cheers, Michael. Did you hear that lovely crystal?
Also, you might hear some cicadas out in the background. Not sure if that'll be picked up or not. If so, they really wanted to participate in the episode.
They're just talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, astrology. We are sitting here truly hours away from Pluto turning back into Capricorn for a brief 6 weeks or something.
Yeah, something like that. I forget the exact timeline.
It's until November 19th.
Right.
So maybe 10 weeks.
Right.
Before it turns back into Aquarius, where it will be for the rest of our lives, probably.
More than likely, unless something strange happens.
We'll put it this way. It will be the last time that we see Pluto in Aquarius.
Yes.
Or excuse me, Pluto in Capricorn. This champagne's really good. Pluto in Capricorn.
Yes.
And because we're not going to live for another 300 years, which is when it's going to happen again.
Correct.
I hope you can edit that to being English. Anyway, so there is so much astrology happening this week.
Yes. Mind-blowing amounts of astrology happening, not only this week, but also the past 2 weeks has
Actually,
been
most of the summer.
most of the summer. I think it's come to a bit of an apex, and then there's just so many things still even to come where it's like boom, 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 boom.
Going direct, going retrograde.
Yeah.
So probably the summary is, if you haven't jumped on an astrology bandwagon,
Correct.
Serious Joy, which is the program that we both listen to daily, now has a free service where you can listen to like a 5-minute daily orientation for what is happening, so that you can kind of understand maybe some of the energy, just like as we spoke about before, just like the weather.
Yes.
Just like, is it raining? Is it snowing? Is there going to be flash floods? Is there going to be a firestorm? Whatever.
Yeah.
And so that would be my advice if you haven't already gotten into astrology in some other way, because I think it's going to become very, very helpful.
Yes. More than that, I think just, what this all kind of translates to, if you're listening to this around the time that we're actually releasing this episode, something to keep in mind, maybe you've been feeling extra stressed these past couple of weeks for whatever reason, life things, world things, any number of things that could be difficult and stressful. The astrology is partly leaning to that, creating a scenario, kind of forcing maybe some changes that need to happen, and change is not always the most comfortable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so people handle that in different ways. And then their stresses get expressed in a way that might cause stress for you, and it's a domino effect and all the things. So, yes.
We advise astrology.
Yes.
Okay, next we have breathing and balancing.
So I'm going to ask you, Suzanne, how are you doing with your balancing right now?
That word has become so decharged for me. It doesn't, I have to almost remind myself, and it's almost humorous now to be like, that was a thing. Who knew?
Was there something that you that you could say is the reason for how you worked through it? Was it a conscious thing, or was it just being exposed to it?
It actually, the more I have come to know my astrology chart, the more I have seen that that's one of the directions I need to grow in. And it was like, oh, I'm resisting. Okay.
Fair.
So, so it was just a decision to stop resisting.
True.
How's your breathing?
My breathing? I am breathing. Always have been breathing. But as far as the triggering portion, I think it's not as much. It's not that I've been intentionally putting myself through exposure therapy or anything like that.
I call her every night at 9:00 and say, Michael, are you breathing?
Are you doing your breathing exercises right now? You should do your breathing exercises.
Come on, box breathing for me. Yeah.
Yes, not doing anything like that, but I think just over time, and funny that you say about your astrology chart, which little teaser for in the future are some of our seasonettes that will be coming, and we'll get into some more astrology type conversations. In my health chart, it's not highlighted as being a thing, but relaxation being a very important thing for me, that it does recommend breath as being. And to be clear, I don't have an issue with breath itself. That wasn't, I recommend listening to that episode again if you're not sure what we're talking about. But it was more about how people have a tendency to, all the things.
So have you had any interesting dreams?
So dreams, I'm trying to think if I've had, I don't know. Have I told you about any interesting, I forget. It's been
a very dense period of time.
It has.
We have talked a lot about how time has been very strange.
Yeah.
So I know I've had dreams, but I haven't really thought about them too terribly much.
But that's also good, because I don't know that you were you weren't regular about remembering your dreams that much.
Well, I also started sleeping again, so
that's also a good thing. Also a good thing. I know I've had some dreams that have kind of come through, but none that have been very, that really stand out as being something that has, something to note at this point.
And so I'm just going to drop a teaser here that rather than talk about Egypt, we are actually doing a seasonette, which is what we are calling kind of the episode links that we are going to use for the rest of 2024.
Correct.
So we will be doing 3 or 4 episodes fully on Egypt.
Cool. Yes. On Egypt. I guess while we're here, some will be on astrology.
Yes.
For the month of October, it'll be some of my personal, more scary ghost stories.
Yep.
And we'll do Egypt. And then we will also...
We've got several things planned in December.
Yes.
So how are your fairies?
They are good. They actually did cause a ruckus for one of my trips when I went out of town. I came back and they had... So where my fairy door is located is in the same large space because I have an open plan between my living room and kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Their fairy door is in my living room, kind of the furthest away it can be from my kitchen space. And when I came home from one of my trips, I came home and my recycling container was knocked over with everything kind of strewn about. And also above where I have my paper towel holder attached to my wall that also had fallen down and been ripped off. So apparently they had gotten used to me being at home and turning on the light for them in their little area and doing all. I think they were upset that I had been gone after staying home for so long.
She's been punished by her fairies, but they've been cool since then.
Yeah. Since then, I told them, I'm like, I'm sorry, I still have to go away. I'm sorry I wasn't here to turn on your light. It's fine.
This is how I pay for the electricity.
Exactly.
Okay. Ghosts we're going to talk about in length.
But I do have an
Seasonette.
update of something that's happened since.
I'm getting more champagne.
Same. So the thing that happened more recently, this is just a small little tidbit that happened. It was, Suzanne can tell you, I have a bad habit of going to bed at a reasonable hour.
And by reasonable, she means unreasonable.
Yes. So
some people might be getting up.
True, depending on when you get up. I'm not, yeah. So it was one of those moments, and it was a weekend where I was like, okay, I can kind of stay up. So I was lingering, watching TV, but not really intensely watching. And I have a tendency to fall asleep on my chair for periods of time. And then it takes me a while. This is actually why it takes me so long to go to bed officially. It's not that I haven't been sleeping. It's just I haven't been sleeping in bed.
Her bed.
Yes. So I've been there and I'll get comfortable and I kind of continue to sleep. And then until there's a point where I'm like, okay, I need to actually move to my bedroom and that's where I'm going to sleep. It's not the most restful way of sleeping.
The next 20 minutes until my alarm goes off. Yes.
Yes. So it just so happened that on this particular evening I was there. This is exactly what was going on. And I happened to kind of wake up in my chair in the living room. And I thought to myself, I really should move to my bed and legit go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't know, but I'm still really comfortable. It was just like one of those moments that I kind of like repositioned and put my little blanket a little bit higher up on me to get more comfortable, committed to this idea. And right at that moment, right as I was thinking, I'm like, no, I don't know, I should, but I'm going to, right at that moment, above me, I have a lamp in my ceiling light, there we go, in my living room directly above me that at that moment turned on and then was on for about, 15 seconds or so, because I did kind of pause for a moment and be like, what? Who? How? Why did that just happen? And then after that amount of time where it was just a solid on for about 15 seconds and then it turned off. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take that as a sign that somebody's telling me
too bad
that I need to go to bed. So thank you for the help. And I'm sure somebody could say it's electrical problems. I don't normally have this problem in my home. Lights don't traditionally just turn on. I don't have like weird wiring in that way. So, but if you want to explain it away, that sure, but also
whatever
a little
you feel comfortable with.
Whatever you feel comfortable with. So that was my only little mini ghost, or we'll just say other involvement in my.
That's other with a capital O.
In my life. Okay.
So then moving on from there into intuition.
Intuition.
Was that your intuition telling you that it was other?
It was, because at first, honestly, I got a little scared. I was like, what's going on? Which is always my initial reaction to whenever I have anything like this happen. I'm always at first like taking it all in and making sure that I'm aware of all things. Like, is there somebody in my apartment? Why did this happen? Whatever. So yeah, at first I was scared. And then once it turned off, then my intuition was like, actually, no. Based upon what I was just thinking right before it happened, my guess is that they were all in agreement. Michael,
You needed a confirmation. We've given it to you.
you need to go to bed. And if we need to freak you out from staying in your living room any longer, we're here for you. Yes. Suzanne, have you had any intuition moments?
Feel like it's a muscle that I've just been strengthening kind of constantly. Not anything specifically that I can think about to tell a story of, but it's just getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a muscle that you have to strengthen all the time. So
I still lose at Shush Bash sometimes, and I certainly don't use my intuition when we play dominoes.
Okay.
Not that I wouldn't, but just I haven't mastered the split second part of it, like which domino to pick.
Right.
So
I feel like my intuition is getting stronger. Like I really have to tune into it pretty regularly. It's a lot of just, it's a trust game with yourself, essentially, right? You're like, I'm going to listen and be aware that that's actually what you're doing. So yeah, more and more. I don't know that I have a very specific other than why my light turned on.
So any updates on your thoughts on Jesus?
He's great. I love him. I don't think there's any changes there. No, I don't think I have anything to add to that particular subject.
Okay.
Do you?
I have read the New Testament in Aramaic and the Gospel of Thomas, which are two recently, that's in quotes, discovered kinds of interpretations or ways of looking at his story on Earth, and found both of them to be very interesting.
I take that back. I did get a book that I have been reading, the Nag Hammadi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been doing some more reading on that, which is just some more scriptures that didn't necessarily, not all of them made them into the traditional Bible, for those of you who don't know. And so it has more of the outlier texts that can be referred to by people. That's very vague.
The more esoteric
texts.
Thank you.
Words.
And how is your sexy serpent spine doing?
I use it.
Spine serpent, sexy spine serpent.
Yes.
Not serum.
Serpent. Snake. Serpent snake spine. Good. I don't normally use it that often. Like I said, I traditionally use it for when I'm manifesting something. So, yeah, I don't use it that often. Have you tried using it?
I haven't, but when I visited our medical intuitive, she was like, one of the gifts of becoming an older woman is that is when it wakes up. And that is when you start becoming super creative, which, as that has always been my personal identifier as super creative. Yeah. To think that I might become super, super creative is super, super exciting.
I like that it's super about this spine serpent.
Yes. Just goes with a whole alliteration package.
Okay. I can't read. We have a list in front of us that we're kind of going off of here. And
no, granted, it's a list that's been through many iterations. So,
yeah.
So when we spoke about love, we talked about the loss of Oscar and Espresso.
Yeah.
So it has been well over a year for me. And I feel like on the year anniversary, it was kind of like we said our final goodbye. I know that you see Oscar, but yeah, Espresso I think is gone.
Yeah. I still feel Oscar around. I have still just constantly, He's just always there.
Mm-hmm.
So I still talk to him
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And he's just, but I feel like he was always there anyway, also in life as a bit of a protector for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that he's still kind of fulfilling that role, which is why he's still hanging around. He's just always making sure that I'm okay and pointing out things that I need to be paying attention to if something's unsafe or...
He's your furry guardian angel.
He is. He liked that job, I think.
Now, moonology for me has become a kind of a way of life. So one of the things this year I went through just about every kind of interpretation of your natal chart that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And in one of them, the reader was like, do you realize that you are this very specific interpretation of a personality? And it was very much a confirmation of what I had already come to understand about myself, which is I am lunar powered.
Yes. I would say as a bystander, I feel like you are very sensitive to the cycles of the moon.
And what I have added to that is understanding the astrology and the cycles of the moon. So knowing that when I'm in Gemini, really I am going to feel like writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not really going to want to do anything else. So how to harness the life I need to lead with the various impulses as they're coming through the zodiac.
I would say that for myself, I have started to more notice that when the moon is in certain signs, especially when I have a harder time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, when the moon is in Cancer, it's very emotional. I have much harder time in general. That's when my stresses all come out. I become overly sensitive to a fault because I kind of run on that energy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes very extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find myself more stressed during that period of time.
And for me, that's in my 11th house. So I find myself extremely social.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will call and chat to people, and I'm not a normal call and chat kind of person.
Yeah. For me, I think it brings out a lot of insecurities in me. That's what I mean as far as like being sensitive. And that would make it is my 10th house.
Mm-hmm.
So me in the public. So I have a tendency to, at that time, retreat more and hermit more because I feel like all of my interactions are really rough for me at this time, just because I'm reading into things way more than I need to be in comparison to most other times.
Yeah. I think I feel kind of that my skin feels itchy and I feel a bit electric in Aquarius.
Boogie, woogie, woogie. Sorry.
Maybe that's what I need to do is just play an electric guitar for 3 days. But yeah, just in terms of like the days where it's sort of like, I need to retreat because I'm just a little edgy.
Yes.
And I'm not doing anyone any favors here. I just feel a little just itchy, edgy. So yeah, so the moon has been very helpful.
That's good. That's good.
I don't have any updates on my knowledge of the Nephilim. I did buy a new deck of oracle cards.
Nice.
They are
always a supporter of that.
And strangely enough, they have become the ones that I'm using almost
regularly.
Yeah. They seem, I'll have to put in the notes what the actual name of them is, but they are I think they're art witch or art magic or something like that. And so they're sort of a creative process. And as I have gotten back into writing consistently, they have been very helpful in directing that. And then I know that we both have worked on creating kind of our own decks for our own purposes.
Oh, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, you can buy blank tarot cards. And so you can actually create decks to have information that normal tarot cards or oracle cards would not be able to give you. So Suzanne and I were kind of talking about this. One way that I've done it, I get migraines often, and sometimes it can be hard for me to identify what the cause of the migraine is in order to really do what it is I need to do to help get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've created a small migraine deck of all the possible triggers that could be the reason why. And especially because if I've tried a number of other things to go on my own without, I'm like, what is going on? So I'll use my little migraine deck.
Yeah.
And to find out what are the triggers, what's for this particular one, and then kind of go
the remedy. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And it's been helpful.
Yeah. I have done my own deck to just kind of guide me with words.
Yes.
Surprise.
Yes.
Surprise, surprise. And I did go one weekend, I needed to do massive protection in my house. And I felt like it was very much of a download of like a process I needed to go through. And I needed to do it for every hour for 24 hours. And because if you've listened to Right Magic, you know how much I believe in that. So it was part of a like Right Magic, almost trance kind of state. And it worked so well. I was astounded.
Nice.
I mean, part of me was like, well, this is what you said it was going to be.
Yes.
And this is what you asked for direction to do. So why be surprised? But then part of me was like, but that was like, wow, okay. So yes, I feel like that has been pretty strong.
I do have another ghost thing.
I was wondering if you were going to get to that.
Thank you. This reminded me of it. So on one of my travels, again, I ended up staying in a haunted hotel. I did not know that it was haunted when I booked it. It was just a happy coincidence. And I felt it as soon as I was unpacking all my stuff. I was in my room and I literally was like putting things down. And then I literally stopped and looked around me and was like, oh, hello. I could just feel it. And I was like, oh, this is a first for me of really experiencing this in a hotel, because most of the time when I travel, I rarely encounter in this way. And so and this was an older hotel that has been
history,
yes, redone, refurbished, all the things. It's fancy,
burying the history.
Yes. And just so happened I was looking up for food, and as I was Googling the hotel to look up what the restaurant menu was, it brought up haunted hotel for this, all the things that had happened there. And I'm like, oh, well, so then yes. And I read all the things. Anyway, so for the protection part, what I had decided to do, because at that time the sun was still up, it's still daytime, I'm still doing things. It's like, you know what? I'll let you guys do your thing for right now. And also I found out that one of the rooms that something had happened was directly above my room by just one floor. And like same room, just one floor down. And so when it came for nighttime, I was like, okay, let you guys have your space. I realized that this is your home, all of that. And then I brought in Archangel Michael. It's like, because I didn't want to have to keep on thinking about it or anything. And I knew that he has always been very good for me and just taking care of the situation. So that's exactly what I did. And I asked that while I was there for the remainder of the time for that evening until I left the next day, that it was at that time that this space is my own, this room is my own, and that
y'all get up on out of here.
Yeah. It's been fun. We had some time together, but now you gotta go.
See ya.
Yes. And as soon as I did it, immediately I felt I could feel it. The room was my own. There was nothing I had to worry about. Yeah, all of those feelings of having something there with you was no longer. And yeah, and then I was just fine. So I just thanked him all the next day, said, thank you, you can have your room back. I'm going.
And I'm going to get a different room when I stay here next time.
Yes.
All right. So I feel like the questions episode, we really don't need to revisit. The reincarnation one, I don't think we need to revisit.
Tarot, I feel like we kind of covered with our oracle portion. Untold stories have now been told officially.
Multiple times in multiple ways.
Yes.
I've already mentioned the right magic. And have you seen aliens again? Extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrials. No recent interactions. The only thing is that I've been working a little bit more with the group called the Arcturians that are we didn't really get into this so much in that episode, but there are many what are extraterrestrials, but actually a better word is extra dimensionals because they are not really in a physical body. They're more of an energetic
presence
form. Yeah. And so Arcturians fall within that. They're not, I can't really put an identifier what they look like because they don't interact with you in that way. It's almost like how a spirit would interact with you. So I've been working a lot with them in tandem as like good benefits as far as I'm having health problem. Please help me figure out the root cause of this or to help heal, transform. And they've been assisting with that, which, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's helpful.
It's helpful.
So I think that sort of wraps up our catching up for the year.
Pendulum really quickly. Having any...
I have become much better at using my body for yes, no.
So more like muscle testing? Okay.
Than the pendulum.
Okay.
It just seems less, it seems clearer. And the pendulum, I don't know that I ever felt like I trusted myself.
Yeah.
But I will say that even for muscle testing, part of it is, okay, if you're asking and you receive an answer, then you need to proceed as though you believe in the answer, even if at the time you're kind of like, well, I don't know, is that real?
Let me ask again.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's just kind of like, when someone asks me for a response and I give them a response and then they're like, but are you sure? And it's kind of like, well, I told you.
Yeah.
So thinking about it that way is kind of like, okay, if you're saying that you believe this, then act on it.
I'm the same way as you with the muscle testing in reverse. So I question myself when it comes to muscle testing and I question the answers and feel less confident in that portion of it. And I feel more confident in the usage of the pendulum. So everybody's different on how they are able to interact with, where they feel the confidence is being able to kind of move forward with the answers given.
So, yeah.
So that's where we are. And we are planning on doing a second season. But as we shared, we are going to be doing seasonettes for the remainder of the year.
So we are starting those next week. We will be starting with astrology.
Astrology.
A little bit deeper dive. Some things that we have hinted at here will be delved into further.
Yeah.
So thank you for being a fan and a listener.
Thank you so much.
All the Woo A to Z. And here we are signing off our first season.
Season 1. Thank you for being a part of it.
All the Woo A to Z.